There's one thing I'd like to add to that as well. I asked the mayor this very question when he was on public access TV about how he could allow a tax abatement and still allow all this overdevelopment that we have. His answer to me on public access TV was they considered this a contaminated site. In the height of the real estate market, nobody would purchase it. Upon hearing that, I went down and found out who the environmental engineer was who did this cleanup there, are the same ones that are doing the cleanup over at Kennedy Place. I then questioned them about this site. They said, yes, we did the environmental cleanup over here. I said, was it a contaminated site? They said, absolutely not. So for the mayor to tell me on public access TV that we are lucky to have this because it was a contaminated site is a bold-faced lie.
Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. My name is Ken. I'm a resident of Danbury. I have a question for the mayor.
Hey, Ken, how are you today?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
The last time you appeared on public access TV, the issue of overdevelopment came up, and you felt fit to blame it on the previous administrations and also on the Democrats in whole. And given that I've been fighting projects in the city for a number of years, a lot of them have come up in the last 6 years and have been approved, i.e. Paden and Jeanette, where a single-family house was removed and 9 condos were put in its place, the building on Crosby Street, and numerous others. How can you just say that it's other people and not your current administration?
Well, I think that since the Republicans have controlled the zoning commission since 2003. We have approved exactly 9 individual condominium units. Those are the 9 you referenced at Jeanette and Paden Aram. Crosby Street wasn't before the zoning commission, wasn't before our boards and commissions except for planning, because it was consistent with our plan development. It's consistent with the zone that it's in, which calls for high-density residential development in our urban core. And that's a good project. Crosby Street's a good project because we took a piece of property that was contaminated and at the very highest arc of the real estate industry couldn't be sold. Now we'll be housing individuals on that site, and it'll be used in a manner that is expected to be used by our plan of development, which was adopted on a bipartisan basis in 2002.
One more thing. You talked about at the press conference, you called into the mayor about the site on Crosby, and the mayor said it was a contaminated site. And you mentioned that you talked to the people who worked on the land who said it was not a contaminated site. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Well, what had happened was the mayor was on local access TV, and I had called in to ask about his position on some overdevelopment projects that I found questionable, and the Crosby Street. And then he proceeded to elaborate on those ideas. But he did mention to say that in the highest arc of the real estate market that basically Crosby Street was an unsaleable item or unsaleable lot because it had been contaminated. It was considered a contaminated site. Upon hearing that, which I had no information about, contacted the environmental company that's doing the environmental cleanup over at the Kennedy Place site. I then asked them about Crosby Street, who had done the abatement or the cleanup over there. The gentleman had said that it was his company that had done that. I asked at that point, was it a contaminated site? And he said, no, it wasn't a contaminated site. He said, if the worst case scenario could have been maybe an oil tank, like a fuel oil tank in the ground. But that's it. There was no contamination there. So the mayor to come forward on public access TV and make it sound like this was such a horrific site that we're just lucky to have BRT come in here and build on this site, basing it on contamination is false. And I believe I called in the press conference, I called it a bold-faced lie.